Today's video, I'm going to be discussing things you need and things you don't need for the first year of your baby's life. I did a similar video to this one on the newborn phase, so specifically this video is from newborn until 1 year old. As per the title, this is the crunchy edition because I do things in a little bit of a granola fashion, really prioritizing nurture, and some of the things I do might come across as odd to some people because it's contrary to the mainstream. So I guess that's just my disclaimer. If you clicked on this video, it's in the title. You can expect some parenting approaches that are slightly different to the norm. As with my other videos, my usual disclaimer, I'm not trying to tell other people what they should or shouldn't do, what they should or shouldn't want. So please take what serves you and leave what doesn't serve you. I'm going to be covering the topics in terms of themes. So let's start with the theme of bath time. I don't think that a baby bath is necessary. Elba and I bath together, and we did for the entire first year. We bathe in the normal tub that's in our house, so then I would recommend, just from a safety perspective, to get one of those mats that helps you not to slip. I don't love that they're made of plastic and they are being heated because of the hot water, but from a safety perspective, I guess just tolerate that, because especially when they start to sit up in the bath on their own or stand in the bath. On that note, also, I have one of those things that covers the tap because our tap gets really hot. In my newborn video, I said that I don't think it's necessary to wash a newborn with soap, therefore we didn't use soap in the newborn phase. However, I started to use soap once Elba was eating and when she was crawling all over the place, because in that case, I did feel that there was stuff to wash off. I'm very particular, of course, about the things that I put on her body and on my body, so the soap that we choose to use is a very basic, minimal, even no essential oils and obviously no seed oils soap. This soap, as I originally know it, is called boerseep. That translates to farmer soap. And in Canada, I've also seen it called homesteader soap. It's essentially tallow, lye, and water. It's a very multi-purpose soap. I also use it as a stain remover. I grate it and I add it to hot water into a spray bottle. But that is the soap that I choose to use on me when I bathe with her, and it's also the soap that I choose to use on her. I think the important thing with soap, since the whole more natural movement I think is picking up, there are so many natural baby products, but I would urge everybody to just have a look at that ingredients list, because even the so-called super pure, super natural, sensitive for baby skin, etc., has an incredibly long list of ingredients. And I'm not saying a long list of ingredients is bad in and of itself, but often they are filler ingredients and they're used as some form of a preservative and so forth. So my approach to that is get the old school method of making soap. We don't need anything more than that, and anything more than that is some unnecessary thing we're putting onto our baby's skin, and they're going to absorb that thing that we're putting onto them. Oh, and we don't use any shampoo, but she also didn't have much hair in the first year. Then moving on to bath toys. For most of the first year, I don't think bath toys are necessary. I think the experience of being in the tub in and of itself is enough of a sensory exploration experience that bath toys really wouldn't add that much value. But then at some point, Elba did start to enjoy bath toys, and there are two in particular that I would recommend. Both of these were gifted to me. I didn't purchase them, but I would definitely purchase them for somebody else because I like them. The first one is silicone cups, because that's just always fun to pour. And the other one is these silicone squirt toys. And what's lovely about them is, first of all, both of these are not typical plastic, which I like to avoid. But both of them are open or can open in such a way that you can ensure that there is no mold buildup, because that's the big thing with bath toys is they're getting wet. And you want to avoid your child playing with something or putting it in their mouth when there's mold growing inside of it. Those are the two bath toys. They're more than sufficient for us for bath time, and I don't think that they're necessary in the first, I think, 7 months, maybe from 8, 9, 10 months onwards. And then also, if you're getting bath toys, one of those things to put them into so that they don't just lie next to your tub again in water and letting things grow in there. Now moving on to the category of sleep. We do breast sleeping, which is a specific form of bed sharing when you are exclusively breastfeeding. I have linked the book below, Safe Infant Sleep. That's where you can read a lot more about it, and I've spoken about it in my other videos. And for that, I think that what you need is a good floor bed. And I don't mean an actual floor bed. I think you can also just put your mattress on the floor if you're worried about mold. You can put your mattress onto slats. It is a very common injury for children bed sharing or not bed sharing to fall off of beds. That's not a risk I was willing to take. Very early on, we got rid of the bed frame and our bed has been dropped to the ground. All right, quick potty break and we are back. So with this sleep thing, the other thing that people do when they don't want to drop their bed to the floor is they get bed rails. This again was not a risk I'm willing to take. With bed rails, there is an entrapment risk and that was not something that I was comfortable with. So we didn't do bed rails. Bed on the floor is what we chose to do. The important thing as well with this kind of sleeping is that your mattress needs to be safe. That means that it shouldn't be a memory foam and it should be firm. In addition to that, there was something that I didn't do in the first year that I wanted to do, but it was not within our budget, having just moved to Canada and just having had a baby, etc. And that is the type of mattress we used. We used a normal mattress. It met the safety requirements for bed sharing and co-sleeping in terms of firmness and not being memory foam. It is a king size mattress and it's turned sideways, which means that there is more space for everybody. But what bothered me about it being a normal mattress is that normal mattresses have loads of chemicals on them. The biggest concern I have is the flame retardants. We have since then replaced our mattress with a fully natural organic mattress. I know that they can be very, very expensive, which is why a lot of people who do have issues with flame retardants like me don't necessarily replace their mattress as one of the first things that they do, but it is quite high up on the priority list because that's where you're sleeping for yourself, hopefully about 8 hours, but for your infant around 12 hours through the night and then also their nap. It was very important to me and the first opportunity came for us to replace it, I did. I will link down below the one that we got. I think it is a fantastic, more affordable option than a lot of the organic ones out there. It's from Silk and Snow. We've used it for about a month now, and I think it is a fantastic, affordable option. The other very popular one that is a slightly more expensive, but still not on the super upper end of natural organic mattresses that's very popular amongst bed-sharing parents is the avocado mattress. I don't have that one, but friends of mine do. I'll link that one down below as well. Then in terms of other sleeping arrangements, one of the big things that other parents may get that we did not get in the first year is a baby monitor.
How?
The reason for this is that I wanted to make sure, and I detailed this in the newborn video, but I'll add to it, is that I did not want Elba to sleep alone in a room for the first year. This is taken again out of the book Safe Infant Sleep, where he details more specifically reasons why. I think the general health standard or policy is that infants shouldn't sleep by themselves in a room for at least the first 6 months. For me, I took the recommendation from Safe Infant Sleep, which was 12 months. And even a little bit after 12 months. Shortly after Elba turned 1 is when we did purchase a baby monitor for the first time, but then I also eased into it and limited the amount of time that she was ever alone. This decision is from a safety perspective, but it's also from a nurture perspective. I wanted her to know that if she opened her eyes, I was right there. If she stretched out to me, I was right there. Now that she's older and can communicate more, she does understand the concept of pulling me and then she waits for me to come. All of that was part of Elba not sleeping by herself for the first year at all. So either myself or Ian was with her. And I think if you have a baby monitor, sometimes it can be tempting to quickly go do something or leave the room. And I didn't want to do that. So we do now have a baby monitor. I was also particular about the type of baby monitor we got, but not going to cover that in this video because we didn't get it until she turned 1. In terms of sleep, the final thing around sleep, and that will take me into the next category, the room your baby sleeps in needs to be safe because the mattress is on the floor. And by the time that they can crawl, they can get off the mattress. Even with the mattress on the floor, I used to put things next to the bed just in case she somehow rolled off, which she never did because it's a king size mattress turned sideways and I was right there. But it's still a decent drop off there. But as she became older and bigger, it was less necessary. Our room is entirely baby safe. All of the plugs are closed. There is a dresser in there that is anchored to the wall There's a big thing over the plug, and I trunked the electrical wires that go behind the dresser for a salt lamp to be on top of that. I like to use a salt lamp throughout the night for the first year for me to be able to see her, and I still nurse throughout the night. So it's just useful if there's a light, gentle glow in the room that I can sleep through. It's not disruptive to my sleep in terms of blue light, but I can still see. Moving on to the next category, which is feeding. Just by the way, I don't have a Love Every subscription. This is something that I found secondhand. I find many of the Love Every toys secondhand. With feeding, the number one thing, of course, is a high chair. If your budget allows for it, I think the Trip Trap, I think it's called, it looks amazing. It looks amazing in terms of it being fully wood, and also you can push it right up against your table so your kiddo can really feel like they're part of the family meals. However, that was not in our budget. So we got a different high chair. The biggest recommendation I make for a high chair is make sure that it is easy to clean. If you are doing the approach to solids where your baby feeds themselves, especially, because in the beginning it can get very, very messy and you spend a great deal of time cleaning it. So check maybe if the tray, if you're using a tray, fits into your dishwasher. Yeah, we started solids when Elba was just over 6 months old. She was sitting unsupported. She had her first tooth and she showed an interest in food. We did do baby feeds themselves, which is typically referred to as baby-led weaning. Don't really like using that phrasing because whenever people hear weaning, they think that you weaned them. And no, we do not wean. Very much still exclusively breastfeed. Breast milk was, and probably still is, the main source of her food. Second up on the feeding list, something that I did that I haven't seen many people do, but one of the themes of my parenting choices is that I like to not have stark transitions from things. Like, I like to live with Elba like she's going to live, but then just make minor alterations based off of where she is developmentally. So if you've seen any of my other videos, you know that we do elimination communication. That for me is an example of not going from like diapers to potty trained to no diapers. Now another one is with the food. This might be a minor thing, but I wanted her to have the experience of eating that is very similar to what we have and very similar to what she would grow into doing. So she did feed herself, that was one of them. But the other thing was that I got her a plate that does not have compartments. It looks like this. It is not that easy to find. Most baby plates have some form of a compartment here. I wanted to give her a plate and a bowl that very closely resembled what we use. Not so easy to find, but I do have two of them. One of them I purchased off Etsy and the other one I purchased off Amazon. I will link those two down below for you. With one of them came a donkey. A silicone spoon, which also is a popular choice for parents, and it was nice when she was very young, like 6 months, 7 months, kind of like chew on it, play with it, explore with it, like we'd put food on it or just leave it on our plate with food on. But as soon as she started getting a little bit older and a little bit more coordinated, I wanted to offer her utensils that look and act very similar to ours, because those silicone spoons I don't think are very easy to scoop stuff, and they don't really resemble what we use. So that's when I purchased these. They're little stainless steel ones with silicone backs. What's nice is that the fork is blunted, so it's a little bit safer. These she got when she was around 8.5, 9 months old. And I would always just like put it next to her food. No pressure for her to use it. No like showing her how to use it, because I mean, she's sitting at the table with us where we use utensils. And then more and more she started showing an interest in it, and then very quickly progressed to being very confident with using utensils, which was awesome to see. These are great, I think, for the latter part of the first year. I've also linked those down below. One thing I forgot to mention about the high chair. A very popular high chair that people get is the IKEA one. We don't have the IKEA one, we got a different one. But one of the recommendations in terms of safe eating is for a baby to have a footrest. Ours has a footrest, but it wasn't high enough. So I put a little box, I taped a box to it to make sure that she could put her feet flat onto something. People who have the IKEA one, I know that on Etsy, you can buy a footrest that goes onto it or make some kind of footrest for your kiddo to have that. An amazing thing I purchased for our feeding journey is is our high chair mat. I have 2 of them now. They work so well as a high chair mat, but not just that, they work so well as an all-round mat. I take them when we go out and about. I use them as a picnic mat. I use them for messy play. I use them when she does water play. I use both of them every single day. So I've linked those down below as well. Highly recommend them. They have served us well, and they hold up really well in the washing machine because I washed them with cloth diapers and they still look brand new. Okay, I think that's it in terms of feeding. I guess like a bib is nice to have, a silicone bib, especially in the beginning. Oh, and then for liquids, like I said, she's exclusively breastfed, so there's not a whole lot there. We never did any kind of sippy cup for her. We did start to offer her liquids in an open cup just so that she could practice with that. And when we would pour ourselves broth into a mug, we would pour bone broth for her into an open cup, and then we'd kind of hold it for her because still throw it, and bone broth takes a lot of effort to make. So we'd hold the cup for her if she showed an interest in drinking it, or we'd put it on a spoon and like hold the spoon in front of her, and then she would like lean in and slurp it off. But from a jaw development perspective and everything I read, we didn't do any kind of sippy cup. Next up, we've got the theme of transportation. I covered some of this in the newborn video. The first thing is a car seat. We did not use a bucket. Big reason for that is for baby's development, I wanted to ensure that we do not have the baby in a bucket car seat for any extended period of time. So I wanted to make sure that we always took her out. The motion of taking her out allows for her body to move in natural ways and putting her in. Is it the most practical decision? No. But in terms of my priority list, practicality was not the biggest thing there. I don't regret that at all. Yes, there were times when it's like a little bit difficult because she's asleep and now I'm going to take her out and risk her waking up. But I think just in terms of her physical development and her body being in natural positions and not confined to a container, I'm very happy with that decision. So for the car, we do have those seats that stays in the car, and we have a seat that swivels. Initially in my previous newborn video, I said that the swivel is a nice feature, and I just want to say, the longer we've used it, the more I'm like, this is amazing. I really appreciate that our car seat can swivel for 2 reasons. In winter, I swivel her towards me, so it makes it so easy to take her out when I'm sitting next to her on the back seat. I'm gonna nurse her in the car, offer potty in the car. That just makes it so easy to not bump her head trying to lift her over the sides of a car seat. Then also, when I'm taking her out or putting her in from the outside, awesome to be able to put the chair straight on facing me, because again, you have to like lift them over the sides of the car seat. My only regret, or the only thing that I don't like about our car seat, is it is one that has flame retardants on it. I don't like that, and I'm still going over the idea of like maybe I should replace it, but I do limit the amount of time that Elba spends in the car. So this is not something like the mattress that she's being exposed to very regularly. Second up with transportation, I briefly mentioned this in the newborn video around our stroller. We didn't use our stroller that much in the first year, but I heard from people, and I suspected that the older Elba got, the more we would use our stroller. And that has been true, but it wasn't in the first year. We used it every now and then to go to the market. When she was really young, we used the bassinet that goes in it, and then when she got older, we used the chair option. It is nice to have the stroller when it's me and I'm going to an outing where I have lots of things, especially because I take our potty along for Elimination Communication. So a lot of the time our stroller was less to stroll her around in and more to carry the other stuff that I was taking with me. But because we weren't super reliant on a stroller, the thing that I used so frequently in the first year was baby carriers. After the newborn phase, my recommendation for a baby carrier would be a structured carrier. In the newborn phase, I would recommend a softer, like a woven wrap or a ring sling, because their body is so soft still. But as their body gets stronger and they also take more interest in the world, I think a structured carrier is nice. I use 2 in particular. The Ergo, I think it's like the 360 or something. What was great about that one, it doesn't look nice. It's not a very like aesthetically pleasing carrier in my opinion. But what's so cool about it is it has a fantastic head part that you clip in, which is quite supportive for her head. So it was my favorite one if I knew that she was going to fall asleep or if I was going to carry her for a long period of time. Because other carriers that I've like experimented with, I found that their head wasn't always in the most comfortable position, even if it had a headpiece that you can use. The other one that I had is the Sakura Bloom, which I really, really enjoyed for back carrying, and also because it folds really small that I could always keep in the diaper bag. So those were my two go-to carriers. You can check out carrier libraries or carrier sharing options to figure out what carrier is your preference. But the one thing I would recommend is make sure that you check that you are carrying your baby in a way that is good for their body. A big thing for me, I did not ever face Elba outward. Although some carriers say it's okay to do from a certain age or this or that, for me that was a no, just because of the position that your baby goes into and how their legs are kind of dangling there as opposed to being a strong M shape for the hips. So yeah, no front carrying as a preference, that even if it is deemed okay by some of the manufacturers, for me as a personal preference, it was not okay. Not something that I wanted to do. Next up, the theme of toys and books. I'll make another video specifically on our favorite toys for the first year, but for this video I'm going to cover it in a general sense. Elba really, really enjoyed books. We've always had loads of books for her. Even though she can't read, she does like to sit and page through books. Gumi so lively. One of her favorite books in the first year was Farm Block. For the car, I don't feel comfortable to have like bulky, heavy toys, so we got her cloth books to use in the car. For toys, I do prefer to have the all-natural, very well-researched development toys. Those usually come at a much higher price tag, but living here in Canada, I have been able to find what I wanted for her, like the wooden, all-natural toys, well-researched, developmentally appropriate toys, buying them secondhand. Just an example is that I found many of the Love Every toys for $10 or less at the local Once Upon a Child or secondhand stores. What is important to me for toys is that her toys are all passive toys, which means they do not entertain her. None of them are battery operated, none of them sing to her, none of them light up or do any of that kind of stuff to entertain her. She needs to actively play with her toys in order for them to do something. One of the very typical Montessori toys or things is the pickler triangle. I thought about this long and hard, and I decided that I didn't want to get the pickler triangle in the first year. What I got instead is this play couch. We actually have two of them. This play couch served us so well and continues to serve us so well as she explored different ways of moving and crawling and pulling up onto things and climbing over things and just playing with it. So we set it up and then she would learn to crawl under it, and it's just had so many uses. So she could learn to climb like stairs. You build little stairs for her. The other pieces we have for it also forms a ball pit for her, which endless play in that. Although there might not be aesthetically pleasing or fall into the all-natural category, plastic balls has been an ultimate favorite of Elba's. My mom got them for her when she was like 4 months old or so, and I think literally every single day she plays with them. So the play couch plus the balls has been a fantastic feature. She asks us to set it up every single day, and ball was also one of the first words that she said. Another awesome purchase, I think, is the toddler tower. We got it as soon as Elba could stand up stably and squat down and stand up. I initially thought that we had to wait until she could walk, but then I heard from other parents that that's not a requirement. So we had one made, and it has a higher step because we got it when she was 9 months old. The extra step meant it was a nice height for her to be at the counter. That has been such a used item for us. But this is. It also meant that I could back to making food and baking because she could participate in that, and that was really wonderful. So that's still something that we use every single day, is her toddler tower. And then the final two things on the toy discussion is a way for her to get her toys herself. So if you've watched any of my older videos, we have the IKEA calyx, and then she would just crawl there and pull out the toys. In her playroom currently, we have the IKEA Trofast, which was awesome because they're super sturdy. She would pull herself up to a standing position and learn to open and close drawers, and the activity was unpacking them. Now, however, I think we'll move away from that to the more typical Montessori shelf, where her toys are displayed on a shelf. And then the final toy item that I want to give special mention to is a mirror. A mirror for them to see themselves move, for them to see their facial expressions, to practice moving their mouth or their tongue in a different way. We have the IKEA mirrors that you stick on. They're super baby safe because they're not glass, and they're stuck on over there. So she would be able to stand up and watch herself, or just go sit there and watch herself do different movements. Next category I want to discuss briefly is clothing. Clothing, what was important for me is two things. I wanted her clothes to be all natural, and I wanted her clothes to be practical. So initially, I was buying most of her clothes secondhand, but then I started to move away from that because I didn't like that the clothes sometimes had a very strong detergent smell. I'm very particular about the detergent that we use, and I don't want any artificial fragrances anywhere near our body or in our house. So I slowly started to move away from it. It doesn't mean I don't buy secondhand clothing. I still do buy some secondhand clothing, but I will be very particular about what it's made of and also like what it smells like, because I used to wash clothes so many times to try to get that detergent out, and still that smell would linger. So when I moved away from that, I started to buy from, I think it's like Little Planet or something. It's Carter's organic range. And it was nice. Like their items are nice, but I wasn't like entirely satisfied. And then my mom introduced me to H&M. H&M I was avoiding like it was the plague, because I mean H&M is synonymous with fast fashion. But then my mom purchased Elba some stuff, and it was really, what I liked about it is that it was neutral, it was plain, it was very practical, and most of their stuff is organic cotton. So I think they've really stepped up their game in terms of what their clothes are made of and trying to move away from being synonymous with fast fashion. Of course, the churn out of changing the clothing and all that is still very much fast fashion. But right now, they're actually where I purchase most of the stuff for Elba, because it's affordable, organic cotton, plain clothing, because I don't like things with a whole bunch of like slogans on and interesting like graphics and things. I really want like the plain, all natural stuff. So I've been really happy with H&M, surprisingly. Something that is very difficult for me in society is how often we wear shoes that are not good for us. So for many years now, Ian and I have tried to be barefoot as much as possible. And when we're not barefoot, we're wearing wide toe box, zero drop, mostly Vivo barefoot shoes. So it is important to us that we maintain Elba's natural foot shape and not put her feet into anything that's going to constrict the toes in any way, and also so that she can get the natural feedback from whatever she's standing on. So Elba is barefoot as much as possible, but sometimes for practical reasons, we want to put something on her. Before she could walk, it was not necessary to put anything on her. I was even very particular about socks, because socks can sometimes be tight. So what I would get for her before she could walk, but it was cold, was like slipper type things that were very loose but still warm. And also she had this snow boot thing that came with her snowsuit. It's not a real boot. It's entirely soft and bendable. So when people talk about natural shoe wear, they often speak about the bend and the flexibility. Now, people will show you those pictures where they're bending the shoe. For me, for baby feet, even that is like too much. There needs to be like nothing that is in any way restricting her foot. And the only purpose for it when she can't walk is to keep her foot warm. So I'll link down below what I used to keep her feet warm in winter. When she could walk, we moved to these entirely soft leather shoes. They do not in any way prevent her from getting the natural feedback from what she's stepping onto, and her foot muscles will need to work when she's feeling the different terrains on her foot, which is what we want for her, but they will protect her if she steps on something sharp and protect her from like thorns and things that will hurt her feet. But a big thing for me is no shoes as much as possible. And then the last point on clothing is that we do elimination communication, so clothing needs to be practical. It needs to be easy to take off and easy to put on. As soon as she was walking, I stopped using the vests that clip, except when she's sleeping. It's still convenient to use it when she's sleeping, so I know that her clothes are not going to ride up or move in any way. We also use cloth diapers for the first year. I've got loads of cloth diaper videos on my channel. I kind of changed my mind about what I liked, didn't like with them. One of them I will recommend is the organic cotton ones from Assembly. They're pretty cool. And then with a cloth diaper baby, or just any baby, vest extenders are useful if you're wearing vests. We didn't use slippers past the newborn phase. It, for me, is just too impractical with elimination communication. You gotta take off like so much of it. And on the note of sleepwear, something to be mindful of is to check the legislation in your area, because some children's pajamas need to have flame retardants on. So either the pajamas need to be very tight or need to be classified as not pajamas. So Elba sleeps in clothes that are classified as not pajamas so that her clothing doesn't have any flame retardants on. The next one, briefly, I've got so many videos on this, so I'm not going to go into details in this video, is what you need for elimination communication. So we still use the same baby potty that we've used from the Go Diaper Free company for a really long time. We have 3 of them, one in the car, one downstairs, and one upstairs. They still work for us even now. And then the final category, I guess, worth mentioning is like medications or health related things. I'm not a good source for this, I guess, because we really didn't have anything. I mentioned in my newborn video, we used a snot sucker and a saline solution. We didn't really use that past, I think, like month 6, maybe we stopped using that. I did eventually buy a baby thermometer just to make it easier if I wanted to check her temperature, and I felt like it was a good item to have on hand, because the older she got, the less easy it is to take her temperature because she won't lie still. But I think that's just something to have on hand in your house if you feel the need to use it. In terms of anything else, we really didn't use or have anything else. I'm very grateful for that. So a lot of more crunchy parents will have like a homeopathy kit or their go-tos with like what they use for teething or some kind of natural pain relief. Thankfully, I've not felt the need to use any of that, so I have no recommendations around that. Breastfeeding, a whole lot of nursing her is my go-to for any of that kind of stuff. But I guess something worth having on hand, but it's not for your baby, so I'm not really going to detail it in this video, is a lot of resources on that. I have loads and loads of books on various children's ailments, things to look out for, things to be aware of, things to have on hand, and so forth. So that I do have with loads of sticky notes if I need to refer to it. But I don't have like medications and things in the house. And I guess that's it. I think the final one I just want to mention, I probably forgot to put in any category, is loads and loads and loads of cloth wipes. Especially when they start eating and start exploring, there's a whole lot of cleaning that takes place. So you can like never have enough cloth wipes. I don't use a wipe warmer anymore. I just wet the cloth under a tap and then I use it. But yeah, cloth wipes. And that is the end of today's video. If you like this video, please go ahead and like this video. If you like my content, please remember to subscribe to my channel. And if you've got any questions or things that you'd like me to cover in other videos, please pop that into the comments down below so I know what interests you and what is of value to you. Thanks so much for watching today's video.